Hey guys, we are so excited because this week we are interviewing a very special mama.
We are, and she's so sweet and she's so dear to both of our hearts.
Yes.
She is a fellow podcast sister. Yay.
She's in the podcast community, and that makes me so excited because this is our first time interviewing somebody that also has a podcast.
Yes.
And
she's been a listener since the beginning of ours.
I know.
And I've listened to hers. I think you have too.
Yep.
And she has a podcast called The Onion Peel. We'll get to that here in a second. But her name is Angela Duva McConnell.
Yes.
And she was born and raised in Port Huron, Michigan.
Yeah. So we know her personally, but her story is going to reach so many people. That is why she's on here. And we are just so excited for you guys to hear her story. But Angela actually married the love of her life. And together they had 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. And what makes her journey actually very special in a very unique way, and to say this in the best way possible, in 2013, her husband actually took his own life. And that left Angela raising a family on her own, and then also just navigating, staying afloat financially, being independent. Emotionally. Yeah, trying to figure out life as a single parent.
And trying to figure out life, after your love passes away. Like, I couldn't imagine. And she is such a strong woman.
Yes.
And that is actually what her podcast is about. It's called The Onion Peel. And, she talks about her journey and what happened and the day, oh my gosh, the first few episodes, they will just grab you by the heart, you guys. And I cried, I laughed, and I went through so many emotions with her. And I really recommend just listening to her podcast. And she talks about everything and how she got through it.
Right.
Because I could not imagine. And this woman, she's just so strong.
So strong. But I think this also is very awesome that she's on here because she is going to be sharing her story. And you guys are going to get to see and hear, just kind of how her life spiraled and how it's become and where she is now. And then again, I think it's just going to drive you to want to go and visit the Onion Peel. Yeah. And the cool thing about the Onion Peel too is her slogan is finding hope within your tears. And I love that slogan. And not that I've been in the same situation that she has, but it just kind of hit home for me. And hope is something we all need in our life.
I was just going to say, we all have situations or events that have happened to us where we're struggling to find hope.
Right.
And, so I think that is something we can all relate to.
Exactly.
So
I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And
so this is an avenue we have not gone down before, so I'm so excited for you guys to listen.
And we're just very, very lucky and happy she agreed to do this podcast with us. So, sit tight and grab that wine, and we hope you enjoy.
Yes, we do.
Here we go.
Tune in, you guys. Hey guys, this is Erica.
And I'm Brooke.
And we are so happy you joined us on this lovely Friday.
Oh, yeah.
So grab some wine, grab a comfy couch,
right?
And hang out with us.
It's Uncorked Mamas. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you, Ange, for joining us this Friday and letting us pick your brain.
We're so happy you're here.
Me. So excited to be here, guys. Really excited.
This is very exciting for us because Ange is a fellow podcaster. She is in the podcast community as well.
Yes.
So we're going to get to pick her brain and talk about her podcast as well later in the show.
Awesome.
So you guys know, tradition, we always have to try a new bottle of wine each week. So I went camping in Cadillac, Michigan this past week, and listen, I didn't go to a vineyard and get this wine. It actually was at Meyer.
And she liked the bottle.
But the bottle popped out at me, and it has this cute little starfish on it. And I think it's called StarBorough.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Okay.
And anyways, it's a Sauvignon Blanc. And I don't know if I'm going to like it, but you know what? Let's just try it.
Let's try it.
We got to. So, cheersies, girls.
Cheers.
Ooh, I like it.
It's dry.
It's dry. I like
dry.
it. That's why I like my wine.
You like it dry?
You like
Yes.
dry wine. Okay.
That's good because normally we're like dry, we're out.
Yeah.
No, really?
Yeah, we're not big
What do you
dry.
got? Sweet?
Yes.
Yeah.
So hence this bottle
Moscato.
here.
Okay. I mean, I
Backup
like a good,
bottle?
Yeah, the Moscato's good, but I like dry better.
Like
know what's-
Merlot dry?
I'm not a huge red wine, so this
Same
is,
here.
This
So
was
this
like
is-
the perfect wine for
Okay.
hosting.
I can say
You guys knew.
We did. We knew.
We looked
knew.
into you.
See,
No, I was
that
kidding.
bottle spoke to you and said, hey, Ange is going to like this.
Ange wants you.
I like
No,
a good dry wine.
Good.
I like it, but when I took a sip, I had like bubbles in my mouth. I felt like
Well,
Okay, no.
no bubblies.
I didn't.
It's just pretty. Not
No,
bubbly.
you know, it was probably how I sucked it in.
All right.
Just kidding.
I will say
Okay.
this is not my favorite.
Listen,
Personal.
on the back, it referenced fresh cut lemongrass. Okay,
Okay.
so I pictured a lot of grass happening, and I knew it might not be the best, but I still had to try it.
No, cute
Okay.
bottle.
I like it.
All right.
Well, moving on. We also have water
Moving
here.
on.
All right.
So let's talk about something really interesting. That this was the thing I wanted to mention. 'Cause
Oh.
Brooke, I don't know if you know this or not,
Okay.
even though I'm dating myself. But do you know that I used to babysit your husband?
Did you really?
What?
Oh my gosh.
I did.
That's
And your
didn't know
sister-in-law.
that.
And your sister-in-law.
That's adorable.
I didn't know that.
I know.
Okay, so wait, Ange, you've seen my kids.
Yes.
Does Miles look like Corey did when he was
Oh,
younger?
very much.
Really?
Very much.
Oh, that is
I said that from the beginning, though. After when
Yeah.
you had him, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's little Corey."
Well,
It is.
everybody
Kidding me?
says that, but you know, hey, you're sitting him. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Oh
Down
my
on
God.
Monticello.
Was he a bad kid?
No, Corey was always good. Damon was always the one that was
A little stinker.
damn it.
He's still a
Damn it.
stinker.
He still is.
still a stinker.
I mean, I
Just
think
like that
people change,
thorn.
but sometimes.
Sometimes we love him though.
Oh my God, that's so
know.
funny. I didn't
So,
even know
anyways,
that.
I just was like, "Oh my gosh, I wonder if Brooke knows."
I
that
didn't know
I used to
that.
babysit. Yeah.
Corey.
Oh
man.
So you can ask him what kind of babysitter I was.
Oh, you know what? Honestly, every time your name is brought up, he loves you.
Yes, I love
so
Corey, too.
nothing but good vibes.
And
for
I love
you.
Joey too.
Aw.
I've just known Corey his
Longer.
entire
Yes.
existence, literally.
Yeah.
his
That's
entire
crazy.
existence.
Yeah, because
Oh
you
my
guys are
God.
basically neighbors.
Oh yeah,
And
just
him
a
and
couple
Damon?
houses down.
Yeah.
just a couple houses down, and I mean Damon and Corey were together. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
nonstop from
And-
the time they were babies on up. So.
Is it like
So
9,
they've been friends
9 days
forever.
apart in birthdays?
Yeah, 9 days apart. I believe it's 9 days. Yeah,
Something.
both October birthdays.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
they're like twinsies.
Oh my God, that's too funny.
So
I love that.
something that I also need to say too, this is very exciting for us because due to COVID, we haven't been able to have our interviews
Oh, yeah.
like in person. And this
Yeah.
is such a breath of fresh air for
That's
us.
nice.
I know.
Like
And
it feels good to look at you.
it does. And we've been wanting to interview for a really long time now,
Yep.
but I always said Ange has to be in person.
In
I don't
person.
want to do it over the phone.
Yep.
Yeah, I think interviews. I mean, sometimes you can't help it.
Right.
I mean,
COVID, you
obviously,
couldn't.
COVID, different states, all that stuff. But yeah, I think it's nice to be able to see people's facial expressions.
It
and
is.
just be able to read what's going on.
Exactly.
It makes it, I think,
Completely.
for a more authentic
And it's personal.
experience.
Feels
It's
more
personal. Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
So we're ready to get into the
You ready? You ready?
to do it.
Let's do.
girls.
All right.
All right.
All right.
So we did a bio about you.
Okay.
And
nice.
we it's kind of like a Cliff Note version. We put it into the beginning of our podcast so the listeners can kind of hear who we're about to meet and speak with and hear your story, right? So let's start off with, when did you and Don actually get married? How long?
Let's see, 1998, spring
Okay.
of 98.
Okay.
So dated for a couple years and got married and had kids immediately because he was 14 years older than me. So I was like,
Okay.
dude, if we're going to do this thing,
TikTok? That's how
TikTok,
Corey and I
it's
were.
not my TikTok.
Yeah.
It's- yeah, that's
Yeah.
the same thing because you and Corey
13
are,
years.
See, same thing.
Okay.
You know
Yeah.
exactly what I'm
Yep.
talking about then.
So did you always want to be a mom? Like, did you always envision yourself with a big family?
No. In fact, I will say this much. When I went to my 20-year class reunion,
Yeah.
and I show up and they're like, "You have 5 kids? You have 5 kids." I'm like, I know. Who knew? So, no, I always thought I would have, a couple kids, but I never thought that in the end game, I'd have 5.
Right.
Never in a million years.
Yeah.
Never. Especially with, 4 of them being all within a year of each other is
Right.
crazy. So,
That is crazy.
yeah.
It is crazy.
You had your hands full.
Not very smart.
Well, they always say, like you want them to be close, but I mean,
Maybe
That's like having a
too
gang.
close.
seriously, a gang.
Yeah, it's kind of like you are way overpowered, outnumbered,
Yeah.
like to the max extent. Because when they're all teenagers, and you just lose.
Did
Everybody's
they get
going.
along? Now, would you say because they're close together, do they get along better or worse?
I would say because of what happened, they definitely get along very well. I mean, of course, they're siblings and they fight and they can't stand each other at
Right.
moments, but the general consensus of them together is, you don't mess with one of them. They're all the girls are very tight, the boys are very tight. They're very, very close. But again,
Right.
how much of that is based on
Right.
what we had to all experience as a family, but that's, I think, part of the blessing that, you walk away with.
Oh, yeah.
So
That family bond.
is the family bond, correct.
Now, did you work or were you a stay-at-home mom?
I worked,
Okay.
but because I have my own business, I took the kids in and, I could nurse at the office and clients
That's
just got
nice.
used to, hey, nurse the baby. She's just in the back nursing, hey. So I was very fortunate. But then once I got past the nursing stage, we always had, a sitter that came to the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
They loved it because it was like a mini classroom. So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's very I can envision you, for instance, you're at home right now, you're working and then taking care of little Joey.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Working and taking care.
Oh,
my
so
God.
hard.
Especially now that he's starting to walk.
Oh, busy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like, I have to type something out, go run after him. Type something out, go run after him. It's
It just gets worse.
oh, thanks.
Right?
I know. Everyone keeps saying
Thanks.
that. Oh, Erica, what? I mean, it's fun. I mean, he did go back to daycare 3 days a week.
Oh, so that's good.
But the 2 days that he's there, I mean, it's fun. But
It's like
I
a little
definitely
mini
have my-
workout within
It
work.
is,
yes,
you know?
it's a lot. And, we had now, for those that don't know, my oldest son, Drew, came with Don. So he's not biologically mine, but he's mine.
Yeah.
And he is 100% my son. I've been in his life since he's 8. And,
Okay.
he calls me mom. And he's 32 now.
Okay.
So I've been a mom longer to him than I'll ever be to any of my actual biological kids. And Drew lived with us growing up. So we not only had all these 4 young babies together, but then I also had a middle schooler / high schooler that I was dealing with at the same time. So it was definitely a crazy busy life.
Oh, I bet.
Crazy busy.
But he probably helped with the kids.
Yes, he did. He was a wonderful help. It was always because we had to rent. So with the 5 kids plus Don and I, we always drove around like a 15-passenger van.
Yeah.
It was always great because we'd pull up to the party store and the guy'd come out with the dolly, thinking that he's got to get a delivery.
Yeah.
No, it's just me and all my
just
car
our family.
seats. Yeah, we're good. And Drew I'd always be like, Drew, your sister needs a bottle. Grab the bottle out of the diaper bag.
Yeah.
So he was always a huge help. But I tried to be very conscious of the fact that, he's 16, 17. He needs to be able to go and do what a high schooler needs to do.
He wants to be 16.
I think about that all the time. I ask Miles, hey, Miles, go grab me a diaper. Hey, Miles, will you do this? And I'm thinking in the back of my mind too, hey, don't utilize him too much. It's not his job.
He's still a kid.
But he's also willing to help. And when I need that help.
Right.
It's nice.
And I believe that, they made them first for a reason. I mean, God put them born first for a reason.
Right.
So they've been equipped with the personality, whether it's to lead, to be the helper, to be aware of what mom needs. And, I certainly feel that way about Drew and then my biological first, Reese. They're both kind of the same way as far as just being aware of what's going on.
Right.
So, so...
I always say my sister, she's the oldest, and we're, oh my God, are we 14 years apart? 13 or 14?
That's a lot.
So, but I love her, and we definitely have that sister relationship, but there was times when she kind of rolled into the mom.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
just because I think that's just her too. And so, yeah, you're right. I do believe that.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's exactly what Drew did too. I'll never forget. I think he was 16 when Bryn, we got pregnant with Bryn, who's the youngest. And I remember like Don and I sat down with him and we're like, hey, we got some news, because our house was so crazy. And I was really worried. Not that he was going to be like upset or sad to have another sibling, but it was just the chaos was already so crazy.
Yeah.
And he was trying to have his high school life.
Right.
It's like, hey, it's kind of unplanned. Thank you, Tim McGraw concerts. And yeah, your dad and I, we're having another baby.
Gosh.
I love that.
That's
Thank
great.
you, Tim
probably
McGraw.
going to kill me for saying it, but
That's so funny. Mine, Corey would always say, thank you, New Year's Eve.
That's right.
Right?
Yep. That's, Don had bought me like literally front row tickets to Tim McGraw.
Oh, my God.
I touched the man. Like, I can't.
Now he is a man who looks better with age.
I'm telling you what. So,
Hello,
that
Timmy.
was a good night. And thank you, Bryn. You're here now. And our family wouldn't be the same without you. So, yeah.
Well, okay, so we have a ton of things that we want to talk to you about. So we're going to take a quick commercial. When we get back, we will get to it. When planning a wedding, you focus on a few major key components. One, being the videographer and photographer. You want the best company to capture your big day. Perspektiv Media does just that. They have everything you could hope for and more, leaving you with lasting memories for a lifetime. So stop calling around and trust me when I say Perspektiv Media is what you need. Call 810-247-7700 or check out their website www.ti-v.com and get a look at their options. They also offer family portraits as well as high-quality photography for real estate properties. Again, call 810-247-7700 and get the perspective you're wanting.
Welcome back.
Hello.
We're back.
How you doing over there?
Doing awesome.
Enjoying the wine?
Of course, yes. I'm loving the wine.
There's still some here.
I know. I might have to, if we don't finish the bottle, I might have to take Van home with me. It's my little parting gift.
It'll be your parting gift until your T-shirt's done. Jeez. Yeah, Ange also, she was so sweet.
Oh, yes.
She brought us our own little sign.
Yes.
Oh, I can't
Uncork
wait to hang
and
it.
unwind. It was so
I had
cute.
to, though, you guys.
You are
I
so
saw it and
kind.
I'm like, it's perfect.
You're so sweet.
I can't wait to hang it.
My friend Jess did the same thing. She got our little cork holder. She goes, I saw it. I had to get it.
You can't
I'm
say
like,
no to that.
Guys, you're so kind. Okay.
All right. So, depending on you and what you want to share with us, I know you have your own podcast.
Yes.
So, totally up to you and what you're comfortable with.
Right.
What would you mind sharing your story with us?
Of course. I would love to share my story.
Awesome.
So, you mean the story of like just Don dying?
Yeah.
Okay. So, first, let me preface by just saying that Don was literally the love of my life, greatest, kindest, most amazing man. Feel very blessed that whatever time I did get to spend with him, that I was chosen to be his wife.
Yeah.
So I only just said that because when I say that I lost my husband, it's important that people know that I lost my person. He was my soulmate. He was, because everybody has a person. Sometimes it can be your mom, your sister, your husband, I mean, he was my person. He was my everything. I was totally in love with my husband. So,
and we said that when we were doing our bio, because I think your guys' love was literally the truest we could have seen.
Thank you for saying that. That really means a lot to you. Thank you. So, I mean, he literally was my best friend, like for real. So his loss was that thing where I really did lose part of myself because, I mean, there wasn't anything that Don didn't know about myself.
Yeah.
About me. And so we were, let's see, I don't know, 15, 16 years into marriage.
Okay.
Wow.
I think it was 15 or 16. And literally June 24th, so it was just 7 years ago, I literally woke up one morning. It was like 8:30 in the morning, and I could hear this rustling around in my house, like something was uneasy. It was just where you're still sleeping, but you're coming awake.
Right.
And there was just like, I could hear some commotion, and I remember like waking up feeling a little confused. It was a beautiful summer day. The kids had just gotten out of school the week prior. And all of a sudden, 2 sheriff deputies were standing in my bedroom, which was upstairs.
Oh.
And literally just came in and blurted out, "Your husband committed suicide." And I'm like, I'm not even awake yet. I always talk about how vulnerable I was because I was, I had a big, long, baggy T-shirt on. I mean, no bra. Your hair's all over the place. You haven't, you're not teeth brushed. You're just in this, like, place of, like, what?
Yeah.
And the kids were, like, around the police officers, and I don't know that they actually heard because of the way that our bedroom was. Just the way that it was designed, it's like they knew the police officers were there and something was not good. And I just, you just reel from that because you're like, what? I had no idea. I had no idea. I did not know he was depressed. I had no signs. I literally had that moment where your life is going along pretty perfect. I mean, nobody's life is perfect, but it was pretty perfect.
Yeah.
And the next minute, poof, like it's all gone. And, the other thing I talk about is that, like, I really did have the life of my dreams. We lived on a lake. I loved my house. We lived in this great community, and I had a great marriage, great kids, all this stuff. And all of a sudden one day, in a moment, I'm told that it's gone. And not only is my husband dead, but that, oh, by the way, your house is foreclosed upon, already has been sold at auction, it's not yours, and you have to get out of the house within probably a couple days.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it was crazy. So I lost everything financially, everything. And I was 44, lost everything. So everything you are working for, right, in your 20s, 30s, you get to whatever, and you think you're to a place of safety and whatever, and then boom, it's literally gone. In one breath,
in flames,
gone. I had no idea, which I know sounds crazy, but if you really stop and think about it, I mean, Don handled a lot of the bills, and we had been in financial problems for a while. I just didn't know, and he got really good at hiding it from me, because he loved me and he didn't want to hurt me. And, he was too, felt too bad about, the mess ups that he had done financially. And, one thing about my husband, man, I'll tell you what, he always held out hope to the last minute. I totally understand now why he bought so many damn lottery tickets now. Now, looking back, it makes sense. Because I was always be like, why are you wasting money on that? You never know. Somebody's got to win. I'm like, I got it now. It was like, but that all being said, when I look back at it all, I see things now. Obviously, hindsight's 20/20,
and that's that was one of our questions.
Yep, hindsight's 20/20. But at the time, I'm going through just being a busy mom. I had Drew was 23 or 24, so he was moved out at his apartment and whatever. So, but I still had all these kids at home, and I'm just doing work, doing life. And my grandma, who I was very, very close to, had fallen in December, broke her hip, and she was 94. And, you knew grandma was going, right? So, I was driving here to, because I live like an hour away. I was driving here all the time to be with my grandma because, that's what we knew she was going. So a lot of my focus was on her, where Don was home with the kids. And so those last, probably 6 months, he really started to tank, because if you know anything about suicide, isolation is a huge piece to it. And the situation that was set up with me focusing on my grandma was able to provide him to even go further into, this place of his thoughts and his reality, which was truth to him. It wasn't truth, but it was truth to him. So, Yeah, it was a very crazy, unbelievable, how can this happen? You never think anything's going to happen to you. You think that by the time you're the age that you are, that you've provided yourself safety financially, you've got a good marriage,
right.
You've done all the quote unquote right things, right,
yeah.
to protect yourself from having your bubble be burst.
Right.
And that's just not the case. None of us can put ourselves in a bubble to a place. I don't care what you think, but you can't. And so from there, fortunately, we got a wonderful person at the bank who actually owned our home. He was some vice president of something and just had a sympathetic heart to our story and really worked with us to allow us to just at least breathe and not have to like move out right away. Because I was constantly getting eviction notices and we would call and it'd be like, hey, and he'd be like, don't worry about it. I'll get a hold of our legal department. You're not going to need to show up in court. Just, it's fine. I'm still trying to work on whatever I can. But I mean, the house was gone. It wasn't just in foreclosure. It was sold at auction.
Okay.
And again, all the paperwork that would come. I remember one time somebody even came kind of walking around the property, maybe like, I don't want to say measuring, but looked official. And I think I even said something to Don about it. And, you know, he just gave me some excuse. And I was like, oh, okay, because it was my husband.
Yeah.
And I just believed what he said because I was like, oh, okay. And then I went on to whatever, do the laundry, right? Because that's what you do. So, so we were fortunate enough to stay in the house for a lot longer than I thought, but I had to sell everything. Our boat, our hoist, I had to sell my wedding ring. I sold furniture. Everything had to be sold. Like it was a stripping of everything that my life was. And it's really hard, obviously, when a sudden death happens for anybody. Death alone is very difficult, but then a sudden death on top of that. And then when you put suicide, oh my gosh. Yeah. Suicide, people don't know how to deal with death as it is, in my opinion. We're just not taught how to do it very well, I feel like, in America. We're just not. And I think some people are gifted at dealing with it. But then when you deal with something complicated, like a tragedy like suicide, it's a very difficult scenario to wrap your brain around. And so because the people around me couldn't wrap their brain around it, they were all fumbling around me. And I was just trying to grasp for any breath that I could take. And it was just not a good thing. So people end up hurting you. They don't mean to,
right?
But they don't know what to do, and they're hurting, and they're watching you just completely fall apart. I mean, I literally didn't leave my house for at least 6 weeks. I did not walk out of the house for 6 weeks, at least, and I didn't do my own grocery shopping for, I know for sure, the first 9 months. Are you kidding me? Walking in our small community with a husband that killed himself. I mean, people were in such shock because, if you knew Don, he was the most jovial, loving, outgoing, warm, just everybody loved my husband. So nobody could believe that he killed himself. Yeah. Well, financially, he got himself into trouble like years ago. And at some point, that snowball just catches up to you, and you feel so horrible about yourself. And and I always say, because I talk a lot about suicide because I've done so much research and studied it for so many years, just to help myself, number one, but then number two, I've done it biblically, I've done it, scientifically, I've done whatever I could to try and understand it. And, the thing is that I get so mad when people say, oh, it's selfish, it's cowardly. Oh, my gosh, that's such a statement of ignorance. I'm sorry, but it is. And I'll be the first to say, that is exactly what I would have said before my husband committed suicide. That's exactly what I would have said. Was, oh, my God, I know, it's such a selfish. Everybody's got problems, like deal with them,
Yeah.
Well, what I've learned is that, their reality is not what, our reality is.
Right.
And what they believe is that they've messed up so bad, and that truly their family, their loved one would be so much, lighthearted and not have the burden of them if they just weren't here. And so they really, in their minds, get to a place where their truth becomes,
it's the best option.
It's the best option. They're going to be so much better.
Right.
Yeah.
Because as soon as Ange finds out what I've done, then who knows? I mean, would we have gotten divorced? I mean, I can't tell you any of those things. I mean, I'd like to think that we would have worked through them, but it was a lot of years of not having truth be told to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that worked. Like, I don't know, because I didn't get that option. This was the option that I had.
Right.
And, the kids and I have talked several times about, well, gosh, Dad just would have never come back from that, knowing that he let us all down. The type of person that he would have just destroyed him. And that's basically what happened before he actually decided to take his own life. So, it is a pretty intense story. And that day that it happened was, it's all the things that it's your worst day. You're screaming, you're puking in the toilet,
oh my God.
It's horrible. It's horrible. But, I'm 7 years out from that now.
Yeah.
And
right.
Jeez.
I will say the one episode where you had talked about, I could cry.
Yeah.
The one episode, the part that got me the most, it was when you went into the kitchen and Damon went in after you, and you said you fell to the floor.
Yep.
And I remember I was holding Joseph.
Yep.
And I was listening to your podcast. And I just started bawling.
Well, thank you. Now you're going to make me cry.
No, that's not my intention.
Right.
Just because it's like,
yeah, it was.
I can't imagine.
You can't. Most people, and here's what I will say about it all. 7 years out, and I can sit and I can tell you from the bottom of my soul, this is the truth, that I would never wish for it to be any other way now. I can't. People I know have a hard time sometimes understanding that, but I know there's people out there that totally get what I'm saying. Who I have become, who my children have become and are becoming, we can't give ourselves up. As much as we love Don, we can't go back to who we were. And the power of our testimony, the power of our story is something that we get to walk in every day. And I say it all the time on my podcast, listen, our stories, all of our stories, every one of our stories, I don't care how old you are, what you've lived or haven't lived yet, every single one of our stories matter because they have the power to change other people's stories.
Absolutely.
Which is why we were talking earlier, you guys, about why people I think are enjoying podcasts so much, because people on podcasts are very real. It doesn't matter any kind you're talking about, whether it's a true crime or emotional or having a glass of wine. People are being real, and that's how we connect, right? That's when we share ourselves and we allow vulnerabilities to be exposed, then people don't feel alone. And that's so important today, especially with all the social media stuff that goes on out there. So when my kids and I talk, we ultimately go, we miss Dad, and we wouldn't have picked this. This is not something we would have chosen for our journey. Right. But now that it has happened, none of us can unwind, nor do we want to unwind what has happened, because here's what I've learned. I learned that when you say the word suicide, people look at you and they're just waiting to see the expression on your face. They're waiting to see, are you okay? You went through a suicide? And I learned very early on that there was great power in that. Not for me, but just that I could see that had the ability to affect people's lives, to give them hope. Yeah. And I saw that right away, very quickly after Don died. And so I talk about, in one of my episodes, my earlier episodes, about how it was very important in the beginning, because shame is something that partners with suicide immediately. And which is why I didn't go to the grocery store, which is why I didn't want anybody at my house. There was a cooler on my front door, and people knew, you don't come into my house. You don't do anything. It's not that I was trying to be a jerk, but you have to try and figure out how you're going to roll. And very early on, I had to decide if I was going to walk in shame over my husband's suicide. I had to do that for myself, but I more importantly had to do that for my kids. And I thought, there's no way in hell I'm walking in shame. He was an amazing man, and I am so sorry that he didn't handle his problems the way y'all think he should.
Right.
That's on you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's on you. So, you know what? We're all flawed. We all screw up. People always say to me, yeah, but it's death. And I'm like, yeah, so what? I mean, so it's death. Like, there's other things that happen in people's lives, having affairs, having divorces, having all kinds of things that affect children or affect human beings where they spend a lifetime trying to get through it. And so I just was like, I'm not going to be ashamed of this. I'm just not going to be. And I wasn't. And right away, I started just sharing it and talking about it. And one of my first experiences I had was had to go into the Verizon store to get a phone. And it was new. I remember it being a newer outing for me. And, you know, you're very skittish and you're scared to be out in the world. And because you're just afraid. And and you look different, right? Because you don't have a husband now. And kids don't have a dad. And it's just, everything looks strange.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to this woman, young woman that was helping me at the Verizon store. I ended up spending an hour and a half and talking to her. And she started asking me questions about Don's death. And it was strange because I know when people are asking me just out of curiosity, but I also, for the most part, know that when people ask me, they really want to know. Like, and I remember her saying to me, I know I really shouldn't ask you this. This is none of my business. But do you mind telling me how he did it? And I know when you hear that, it's like, oh my God, how could she? But you had to have been in the conversation to understand that I knew. I could just feel it inside my soul that it was part of what was going on. It was part of what she had going on in her story. And I tell everybody, yeah, he shot himself in the chest. So, you know, and that was the beauty of my husband. He had worked in a mortuary way back in the day, and God bless my husband, he even did that to be kind, not to shoot himself in the head, but to shoot himself in the chest because it's less of a mess. I know that's heavy. Sorry. Yeah. I know it is. But that's how much my husband
he was thinking.
Loved. It's the truth. And so that was my first kind of like really putting it out there. And when I said it and I shared, I don't think I shared the chest versus the head thing. I just remember saying that he shot himself in the chest in his car. And I remember after I got done saying it, I was like, that wasn't so bad. I kind of thought maybe that would feel more like I was exposing something really secret or private. But I thought, if I'm going to stick to this thing where I'm not going to be ashamed, then I'm not going to be ashamed.
Right.
Period. And so from that point on, I've just continued to just share. I mean, you know, in fact, my kids will joke, and they were sitting right here, they would joke because they're always like, man, there'd be so many times when I would feel God was using me to tell our story. And they would always say, oh God, here we go in the grocery store. Oh, where's Mom? Oh God, you know, hi, my name's Angela McConnell. My husband killed himself. And they'd be like, oh, did you get the keys so we can go sit in the car?
Right.
Because they would know.
Aww.
But when you open yourself up,
Yeah.
you know, people, if you're willing to share, and you guys know this from what you do, when you're willing to share, then people will share back with you, and then we have connection.
Yes.
And then we get to share hope and love.
And I love that because it's also sharing that we're not alone in this.
Yes.
You know, and it's such a beautiful thing to be able to know that. We get messages about that all the time. And like, I just have to say, like, the fact that you're doing what you're doing, it makes me so emotional, but it's such a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you.
To share that story, because you're helping so many people.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
So you should feel so proud of yourself.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And I appreciate you coming on here and telling it, because those that aren't listening to the Onion Peel, but I know you're going to
after this, you
are
to.
able to hear your story.
Yeah.
Because I know there's so many people that appreciate it.
Well, and that's the thing. We all, and I really truly mean that. We all have a story, and that's something, as I've tried to walk my children through their grief, that I've said from day one: pick anybody. Go pick anybody off the street right now. I don't care who they are. I want you. If you could pick them up and literally get them to talk to you, really talk to you, I said you'd hear a story that would knock your socks off. And now that my children they're all young adults now. we talk all the time where we'll hear stories and, you know, and they'll say to me, oh my God, there's this, I can't believe their situation. Like, geez, I'll take my dad's suicide any day, you know, because you hear somebody else's story and it kills them, you know? And I think that's the other beauty that comes out of any kind of tragedy or grief. It doesn't have to be death, because on my podcast, The Onion Peel, it's not just focused around death. It's focused around any kind of hurt or pain. Death, it doesn't have to be a death.
Right.
That the thing about having pain and going through something is that the compassion that it gives you for your fellow man.
Right.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's crazy to me, you know? And I'm so thankful for that, because you'd like to think you're a compassionate person before, but after my husband died, oh my gosh, I can't. I look at everybody, not like every time, like Damon or Carrie will tell me a story about somebody that, you know, at their work, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta pray for that person. I feel so bad. They probably never had a good role model in there, because I can't help it. My heart just bleeds for them.
Yeah. And you are in the right business.
Yes.
I'm telling you, you are.
You are.
Podcasts are meant for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah. And it's a sad story, but it's a beautiful story.
Well, thank you. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, I feel very honored to have the path that I have. I feel, the people that reach out to me on my podcast, and again, we were talking about this before we started recording, I cannot believe what they share with me. And it is such an honor that they would invite me into such a place of intimacy. That pain, what they have experienced or are experienced, and they're opening up to me. It's a privilege. It's an honor. It's like, it's overwhelming to me that they would trust me.
Yeah.
To share that.
Yeah.
And I don't take it lightly. I do not take it lightly, because the intimacy of pain, and I always say, because I have a strong faith in God, and that's another reason why I don't want my story to ever be anything different, because that special, intimate place that I've shared with God in my faith, I would have never experienced it. I never would have understood anything about. I mean, I thought I understood God and all that stuff, but I would have never, to the extent that I was when I had to rely on Him giving me my next breath and my next breath and my next breath, and how am I going to drive the kids to school, and trying to get over, because obviously I had post-traumatic stress syndrome from being woken up. I had that for years. And share some of this in my podcast. I lost all my hair. Because grief can do that, there was just so much that we've had to walk through that, I don't know. It's why it's so important that we share ourselves with each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we can't get through it alone.
No. You can't. And that's one of the reasons why at first she was like, you want to do a podcast? And I'm like, no. And then actually Joey was like, I think you should do it. And I always said, if I can 5 people, I want 5. Well, we've surpassed that, but 5 people, if you can say like, I've helped you in some sort of way, that
it means the worworld.
It means the
everything.
World, right? It means the world. Where like, hey, you know what? I'm going to listen to my girlfriends, Erica and Brooke.
Yeah.
But that's a lot. And I remember that, like, when we had all the kids and they were little and we didn't really have a social life because they were all in diapers. I remember watching Sex in the City. Oh my gosh, those girls, those were my girls.
Yes.
They were my girls. And right? And that's what you guys are.
Aww.
Right?
Yeah.
Your people's girl, like they're your girlfriends. You're
right.
like, oh yeah, we're gonna get together Friday night.
People get upset because they're like, we just want to be there with you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, if you'd like to, let's just come hang out with us.
But
we'll
it's
do
the
it.
truth. I mean, because that's how important connection is. It's
Absolutely.
so
And isn't it funny that we live in a world of social media, but more people feel so alone?
Yeah. It's sad because it's all fake.
It is fake.
It's all fake.
Let me tell you. Do you know how many times I look at like Instagram and I'm like, okay, that's not what my son looks like. Or that's not what goes on at my house.
Right.
Like, I don't know what world you're living in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so true.
But it's
so true. It's, I don't know. That's why, again, back to why podcasts are so important and why like we're committed to being just real and authentic.
Right. Yep.
That's what it's about. So I'm going to share with you everything that you want to know.
So do you feel like, because this was one of our questions, but just going like through the process and through these years, I mean, do you feel like this was your form of therapy, if you will, or did you ever reach out for therapy or counseling, or
Sure.
Did you ever do anything?
Yes, in the beginning, I had a grief therapist right away. And I think I started seeing her I think it was within 2 weeks after Don died.
Okay.
I had one for a couple times, and she just wanted to blame Don. And it's nothing against her, but it was like, right. Sometimes, there are people, and it's fine if you want to blame your person. That's your walk and whatever. But through this whole journey, I've never been mad at Don ever. Never. And I know that's another thing people don't necessarily understand, but I don't know. I just know that it was out of place of such grief and sadness for him. I could never be mad at him. Yes, I wish he would have come to me. I wish a lot of things, but
right.
But I went to see her, and I remember, I don't know, it was probably 6 months after I'd been seeing her. She said to me, one of my sessions, she said, "Do you remember the very first thing that you said to me when I first met you on our first meeting?" I was like, no, because I didn't remember anything. Yeah. She goes, "You sat down in my chair and you said, 'I want to live again.'" And I was like, "I said that? That's random." And she goes, "I've never heard anything like it in all the years, and grief is her specialty." She said, "But for you to sit down and say, 'I want to live again,' because you knew that it was going to be a while, you knew that you weren't living, and you knew you were dying, but you also knew you were already trying to find light someplace."
Right.
And she said that made me so excited as a therapist to be, right? I mean, what therapist doesn't want to hear that,
yeah.
right? So went to her I think I saw her for about a year and a half, and she was fantastic. I also had somebody that I met with once a week that was kind of my faith-based friend. And she was kind of like a therapy session too. She had just committed to me, and we sat and we would talk about all kinds of things, faith-related things. The boys went to a place where you go if you've lost somebody immediate, a parent or a sibling.
Right.
And the girls, they didn't have room in the sessions for them, so they couldn't go. But, man, my girls were 9 and 10. I mean, Bryn, my youngest, she at 9, I mean, you don't have a whole, like, you think you have a lot of memories, but think about what you remember back before you were 9 years old. I mean,
right.
The older you get, right, it fades. So she still has problems where she can't remember Dad's voice. So does Maren, she was 10 at the time. So then after you get done with kind of therapy, I was very committed to making sure my kids weren't going to be, effed up from this. Because I had people say, well, the kids are never going to be right. They're never going to get over this. And it's not, again, they're just trying to help. They want your expectation to be clear. Yeah. But my personality is like, oh, no, you watch me. No, my kids, we're going to be more amazing because of this. I just was very, I don't know, I was just very committed to that. So I very much, wanted to help my children get through the grief. So we learned to communicate very well.
Yeah.
Because with anything in any kind of relationship, it doesn't matter who it is, you have to have good communication skills.
Absolutely.
You have to. Yes, you have to have trust. I understand that. But even if you don't have trust before that, you have to have good communication skills.
I believe that.
I truly believe that.
Yes.
When my friends ask me for advice, it's communication. That's all I can tell you.
Communication.
Yeah. Talk.
So when we would have blow-ups, because we'll still have like these blow-ups where just the grief gets triggered and it explodes. I mean, nobody hits anybody. It's not like that.
No.
But just where it, yell and the tears start to go and everybody's screaming at each other. We always come back, like we spew it out. It doesn't happen very often now because it's been 7 years. But after we get done spewing it out, we always come back. And we sit and we talk. How are you feeling? What do you think triggered it? Because sometimes you get a trigger that you can identify, and many times you can't.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So, and then I would say as far as what my podcast is now, it's interesting that you asked that question as far as the podcast, because I've had several people say, oh, it must be very healing for you. And
that's funny because that was one of my questions.
Yeah, it's not. Like it's enjoying. I'm enjoying it, but I was healed way before I did the podcast, because honestly, I'm surprised it took me as long as it did to get to the podcast, because I remember all the time I'd be saying to God, I'd be like, why aren't we doing more? Like, I want to go talk and speak, and you already know I've been sharing for years, and we've been doing it more on this one-on-one basis with people. Why are we not? Like, what are we doing? And then, but now, again, when you look back, hindsight's 20/20, and now's the perfect time, right?
Yep.
Why did you guys start when you guys started? Now's the perfect
Exactly.
time, and it just is what it is. So I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it. It's feeding me.
Yeah.
But as far as healing goes, gosh, I've done so much work on that I feel so healed and good, and as crazy as it sounds, I'm just excited that I'm excited I get to share my story.
Good.
That's awesome. I love that. I love hearing that. One other question that we had too was, because your daughter just graduated.
Right. Congratulations.
So
Thank you.
When celebrating these milestones with the kids, is there some, like, how do you handle Don not being present?
It depends on the kid, as you can imagine that it would, right?
Yes.
I mean, each kid is different. So, for instance, because Don's death anniversary is June 24th, and all the 4 kids are all literally a year apart in school. So this is my 3rd open house in a row.
Okay.
So the prior 2 years before COVID, we always did their open house on or as close to Don's death anniversary. I think when Reese graduated 2 years ago, June 24th was actually on a Sunday. That was the day we did the open house, because family's going to be around. So we're going to be thinking about him anyways.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate.
Oh.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because, there's I just feel like so many people would take that and go, we got to do it as far away from that as possible so that I'm not mourning the day of,
Yeah, no,
so
I feel
what
the
a
opposite.
great way
Let's
to
celebrate.
think.
Let's celebrate.
Celebrate life. And,
and I always think, too, that people talk about, well, you don't want to let it define you, right? When something happens in your life, well, you don't want to let it define you. And I'm like, I just don't go along with that. I mean, sure, you don't want it to stop you or stunt your growth as a person, but the things that happen to us in our life, the things that we experience, do define us.
Right.
They do shape us. They do form us. So why not embrace that part of your journey and just be like, yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate it. Let's, whatever you need to do. So it depends on the kid. Now, I will tell you with, Marin's graduating, my girls are different than my boys, as you can imagine. They're more emotional. Then you put the whole COVID thing on top of it.
Yeah.
And, Marin's doing great, but Marin, yes, she thinks about things like, geez, Dad didn't get to see me in my, she's a singer and, didn't get to see me on stage. And Reese and Luke both were like, God, Dad never got to see me, play college football. Or, so we talk about it. And right now I'm currently in a process. And if Marin was here, she'd share it with you. Marin and I have a lot of communication right now, because Marin is working through just the fact of not having the graduation. Fine, we're done. We did pretty good with that. Now we're going to have the open house.
Right.
And we're going to talk about the fact that, yes, I mean, she feels when these events happen, you feel the void. You always feel the void. And everything, I think anytime anybody goes through anything, even if it's a divorce or anything, you feel the void. You feel the fact that things aren't the way that they used to be. And everything, I think, has a bittersweetness to it.
Right.
Right? All the celebrations have a bittersweetness to it. The bittersweetness that gives it the flavor.
Yeah.
That makes it more enriching, because you're aware of the specialness of even being in the moment, and you appreciate those that are there.
Yeah.
Right? Those that are loving you.
Right.
Those that are supporting you are in your corner. Whatever it is you're going through. So, yeah, I think, but yes, my girls, who's going to walk me down the aisle? Of course. What girl doesn't think about that?
Right.
And Marin said that to me many times, and I was like, oh my gosh, you've got 3 brothers that are going to be, you're going to have the whole place crying
having someone fighting
because they're
going
to watch, they're going to watch 3 brothers walk their sister down. Are you kidding me? Like, it's going to be this monumental moment. And she's like, but it's not Dad. And I'm like, I know. And she goes, well, what if I want you? And I'm like, well, I'll walk you down. That's fine. But I think it's way cooler if your brothers do it.
Yeah.
So, but it's just like anything, and I do think that, I think when any of us go through things that, certain seasons in our life trigger, they bring up new emotions that you thought you dealt with. But then it's like all of a sudden, I would imagine that, like, when my boys become dads, I would think that they're going to have questions like, they've never been mad at their dad either, but I would imagine that when they look at their son or their daughter, at some point they're going to go, Dad, gosh, you didn't think about, like, how could you have left me? Like, I could never leave little, Reese or little Marin. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? So I would imagine
we'll go through those emotions.
And we've talked about it. We've brought it up again, back to communication.
Yeah.
And we'll just see we'll just talk about it at that time. Right. And hey, maybe you need to get into some therapy. I know you're 35, but you know what? Maybe you need to go get a tune up or something. Right. I don't know.
Yeah. I literally love what you said, and I'm like going to walk away with it forever.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And it's just the fact that you said, don't let it define you, but embrace it, because there's been so many things that, like you said, everybody's got a special story.
Amen.
But you got to take it and embrace it, because that's what makes you special.
That's what makes you.
And I love that.
That's what gives you the wisdom, especially in that particular area that you have the experience in.
Yeah. Like, I literally love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things I always say, like, why do we not want to let it define us? Like,
because you're always so scared. You're scared that it is a judgment upon you.
Yes.
And you don't want to feel that.
Yes.
But the fact that you just said, the hell with it. I'm going to embrace that and know that it's fine.
Yeah, because if that hadn't happened, you wouldn't be who you are today.
Exactly.
And who you are today is exactly who you're supposed to be.
Exactly.
Tomorrow, you're going to be who you're supposed to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that is the whole point of, why at my age at 51, like, shouldn't I have more wisdom than somebody that's 25? I would like to think I would, right? Simply just because I've lived through and had more experiences.
Right.
Doesn't mean that there have to be even more traumatic. It's just purely actual numbers.
Right.
Yep. I just, embracing who we are and embracing what we've gone through makes us who we are. And damn straight, there's only one of us on this earth. And it needs us.
It's well said. Yeah. Well said.
I know.
I'm telling you guys. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. We have to take a commercial, but when we come back, we want to just pick your brain about the onion peel real quick and then maybe play a fun game.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So we will be back. Trying to sell your house or looking for your perfect dream home? Robert Khabbaz with EXP Realty takes house hunting and selling to the next level. His options and opportunities are endless. So don't waste your time looking any further. Call today, 810-434-8770, and ask for Robert Khabbaz, because your time and money is worth it. Okay. So we're back with the lovely Angela.
Yes,
thank you.
So, all right. So like we said, she has this podcast called The Onion Peel.
Yes, and you need to check it out. I have, and I cried, and I laughed, and I got angry, and all
it's
the emotions.
A ball of emotion.
It is. Yes. It's amazing, and
Well,
but
you.
Our number one question is how and what the name.
Oh, the onion peel.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know how you came up with it.
Well, I don't know if it's that dramatic, but
it's so cool.
Well, thank you. It's funny because I get a lot of compliments on the name, and I'm like, gosh, I didn't think I was.
I hear it, and I'm like, I'm so curious about it, but it also makes me want to go to Applebee's and get a blooming onion. Okay. And that's where I feel.
Well, it started, interestingly enough, I remember when I started thinking, I was going to do this, and I started thinking of the names, and I remember Luke was helping me, he's my youngest son, and I remember just trying to throw some ideas at him, and I knew that I like to go in deep. I'm very analytical. I'm somebody that I always say I prefer to be in the depths. That's just where I'm most comfortable. I let's get in there and churn this up and really get in.
Yeah.
And so I kept saying to Luke, I don't know, what do you say? And then one of the things we were throwing out names, and one of them I said was, I don't know, what about going deep with Angela? And he's like, yeah, Mom. I don't really think that's a good one. And I was like,
I don't think you'll get your point across on that.
I was like, might be like, what is this about?
Yeah. I was like, ooh, yeah, all right.
Okay.
So, and then of course you do the basics. You guys probably did this too, where you're like, I knew I wanted a website and I knew I wanted a .com.
Oh,
and
you
so,
go GoDaddy right away.
Yeah, so you go GoDaddy and you're like, what's taken, what's not taken?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want a .org, nothing against the
Right,
.org.
you want .com.
Yeah, I just wanted the
Yes.
.com. And so, you just start brain processing. And I don't know, I just came up with this whole thing of like the fact that what is life about? It's about peeling the layers of the things in our lives so we can expose the beautiful whiteness in the core of who we are. And that's what you do with an onion. And then I started thinking about the onion more, and I thought, gosh, there's so many ways that you can prepare an onion, right? Dice it, mince it, slice it,
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about how an onion makes you cry.
Right.
But yet it adds all the flavor to your food. It adds all the flavor. Like, man, you can't have a brat without putting a bunch of onions on it.
Right.
Brat's not a brat without
put onions in everything.
Yeah.
Right? A burger.
Saute 'em.
Whatever you want to do.
Yes.
I mean, without the onion, life is just boring. And so all those things just started going through my head, and I couldn't believe that theonionpeel.com was available. That was crazy. So as soon as I looked it up, I was like, oh, dude, I'm so grabbing that.
Yeah.
So, so that was pretty much the thing. And, I have my tagline that's, the onion peel, finding hope in the tears.
See, I was just about to say that because I love that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, so then I started to test it a little bit, and I'd like say, oh, I'm going to start a podcast. They're like, oh, what's the name? And I'd say, and they're like, oh, that's such a cool name. And I'm like, really? All right. Because I don't know. I didn't think it was that original, but all right.
It's so cool.
Thank you.
So cool.
Yeah, I love that. And you have merch, right?
I got merch on my website, onionpeel.com. I do a blog too. My blog is sort of my really super just for me fun thing because I really love to write. And
me too.
Obviously I have book plans, and I have an actual like a biography type storytelling book, and then I have another book that I want to do that I'm going to do with Drew and Bryn, who are both artists. That's going to be a book about. It's going to be an illustration book about the beauty of pain. Oh, because I think pain is stunning. It's stunningly beautiful. It is, pain is gorgeous. It just is. And because the thing that led me to my podcast overall was the fact that from the time Don died, I started journaling, and I started writing journaling, but then I couldn't keep up with my thoughts. And I love to write. Words are something I love going in a thesaurus and picking out words. And so I couldn't keep up with my thoughts. So then I went and I started doing the voice memoing on the phone.
Yeah.
So I've been memoing, which now I've learned I love even more, because when you voice memo, like I'll be sitting there sometimes for 20 minutes just crying. Like not even saying anything. And I'm like, why am I recording? All I'm doing is crying. But I get to go back and listen to these now, and I'm really in the emotion of where I was at that moment. So I have literally 7 years of all this emotion and pain and joy and successes. And when I go back and I listen or I read some of my early entry journals, the stuff that I wrote or I said, I'm like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? That is, it's dark, don't get me wrong, but it's beautiful. Yeah. But that's because when we're in our pain, we're very deep in what we're feeling and in who we are. And that's where the beauty is. So
when you listen to those older memos, do you use them for your podcast now?
Yep, absolutely. Yep, so my podcasts come out every other Sunday night. I try and get them uploaded by midnight. Okay. This last one was a long one. I didn't get it uploaded till 2 a.m. But I try to get them up by midnight every other Sunday night.
Okay.
And so that one's done. Now I'm not really sure. I try to kind of go chronologically, but so sometimes it's more of a storytelling of the actual events and what I was experiencing. Sometimes it's really just a moment or a thought that I had where I'll expound on that. They're usually only about a half an hour because they are pretty heavy, like not in a bad way heavy. I mean, I laugh and I joke. I was making fun about the fact that I took my husband up to spread his ashes in a Tupperware, and I could just picture him yelling at me going up the mountain like, jeez, it's just like how you drive, like, take it easy. You know, I'm spilling out the sides here. So it's not like
spilling out the sides.
We always joke because, death is funny too. I'm sorry, it is.
I love it.
But yeah, it's not all like doom and gloom in my podcast. We really just I try to be authentic, and I try and dissect life. And so this next one coming up, I have it a week now that I have to, do it. And I honestly don't know what I'm going to talk about. So what I'll do is I'll go back, and probably for a night or two before I go to bed, I will listen to a number of those memos that were around that time frame, just to kind of see where I was mentally and emotionally. And sometimes I have recorded something that I'm like, that was brilliant. Like, thank you, Lord, that I got that down.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wow, I can't believe I said that. I need to expound on that because that's really good. Like, way better than what I normally can come up with. So, so that's, I'm so happy I did those. And I definitely, if you're somebody that's going through something, anything, I don't care what it is, journal. Pick your phone up, start talking into your phone. Or write, if you're a writer. Get it out and get it down, right? Because a lot of people say, well, I wrote it all down, then I burned it or threw away. Whatever you got to do. It just, you got to get that
release
stuff out.
it.
It's back to communication.
Right.
You're communicating with yourself.
Yeah. Yep. It helps. So
I was always told, like, if someone hurts you or angers you, or I always write letters.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Not necessarily going to give them to
but
them,
it helps to
but I
say
write
everything you would have wanted
exactly
to say.
how I feel, like, you pissed me off or whatever. And I mean, I've burned them, I've thrown them away, I've kept them. So because
it's important, because I think sometimes, they always talk about how some people are inward processors, which I think are mostly men. And then there's, outward processors. I'm an outward processor.
Same.
I think you guys are, hence we're doing podcasts.
Yes.
But I think when you put something out, that way you get to look at it either visually, you get to hear it, whatever it is, so you get to work through it.
Yeah.
You're processing what you're feeling, what you're thinking.
Yep.
completely.
I've done that before, like even to Corey, and I always like laugh at myself because I'll be saying it and it's not making sense until I finally get there and say it, and then I'm like, well, that's what I've been trying to say.
There it is, the aha moment.
Yes.
That's why I'm feeling that way.
It's like a stepping stone.
It's just a total stepping stone.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Well, so for listeners, where can they hear you?
So you can go to theonionpeel.com.
Okay.
My podcast is on there. My blog is on there. I have my merch on there. And I'm in the process of uploading a resources page on there because I do have a lot of people that reach out to me. So I'm trying to work on that. In fact, just FYI, they are coming out with, I don't know if you've heard this, but the FCC, it's been approved. They're coming out with a 3-digit suicide hotline number. Finally, come on, right? I mean, think about that. So if you're somebody that's in crisis and you got to remember a 10-digit number, and it wasn't even anything like, hey, save me. It was like weird. So I think it's going to be 988, I think, but I don't think it comes out until either next, I think 2021, July of 2021. But anyways,
that's amazing news, though.
But I think it's really cool.
That is
very cool.
Yeah. Right? So now you just, hey, I'm in crisis 988. That's what it is.
I mean, that's brilliant.
Why didn't they do it before?
Yeah, where's that been?
I just remember Logic doing it on the Grammys or whatever, and I was like, yeah, those are just random numbers.
That's
give me like a 1-888-7777 or something.
Something to
anyways, so I'm in the process of trying to get a resources page up just for. It's going to be more of a national kind of a thing because I do have people that reach out that actually have nothing to do with suicide. I've had, domestic abuse, situations like that, which again, such an honor to think that I could help them. But so theonionpeel.com has all of that on there. I'm also on, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Alexa, all the places that you listen to podcasts. I'm on YouTube.
Yep.
Just not the visual, but just
same here.
Yeah,
same.
the
We did it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So any place you listen to podcasts is where I'm at. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok. I do a lot of TikTok.
We know you are a TikTok star.
I like the piano playing recently.
Oh, did you? That's the one I was just showing my brother.
Yep.
That he was making fun of me for. So
that he was making
it's so
fun of
I know. I showed my son today, and I'm like, oh, I think this is funny. I showed him. He's like, Mom, it's not even funny.
Well, like, what do your kids think about the TikTok
they're
things?
Mortified.
Are they really?
Oh, they're mortified.
I don't think your TikToks are awful.
Well,
I don't think
I always tell my kids, it's not. I'm not looking. I don't have 18 and 19-year-olds looking at me. I have middle-aged people for the most part looking at me, and believe it or not, I mean.
They're getting a good message is what they're getting.
I try to just give a message of like, hey, you're loved. There's always hope. Like, hang in there. And it's funny because if I don't go on for a few days and put a video up about, just, hey, you're valuable, you matter, I get these DMs like,
where have you
been? Like, and then I'll put something up there like, oh, I needed that today.
Aww.
So, how many followers? You have quite a few followers
I have
on
like 15,000.
That's crazy.
Dang, girl.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so it's,
that's 15,000 people who are looking at you.
Yeah, it's interesting because I will say, like, my TikTok, it's not necessarily the same people that are listening to my podcast, that are reading my blogs. It's interesting because it's still all just me. It's the onion peel. I mean, the onion peel is more than just a podcast.
Yeah.
But, the overall thing of everything I do with the onion peel is to just bring hope.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do in the general sense, is to let people know that hope is always there. Just because you can't see it, it doesn't mean it's there. Because I think that we're trained to we just don't always know to recognize it.
Right.
And it really is there in everything that we do. And I guess that's kind of a big part of whenever I tell any part of my story, is that when I look back, there was hope around me. Even in the moment they told me that my husband just killed himself.
Right.
There was hope still in that moment. And, maybe I couldn't recognize it at the time, but maybe I can help somebody else going forward learn to recognize that it's around. Because
to see it.
It doesn't matter who you are or what you have gone through or what you are going through. Everyone needs hope.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
I mean, hope is, the Bible talks about faith, love, and hope, and the greatest of these is love. And I agree. Of course, I'm not going to argue with that. But I also think there's a season right now in the time period that we live in that hope is just, we are desperate for it.
I agree.
Because the hope is what keeps us hanging on to reach the love.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
yeah.
So it's all about hope.
Yeah. I agree.
So
completely.
good.
I know. When we were going through, I won't get into it, but getting pregnant, I lost it. I was in a very dark place, and a lot of people didn't understand where I was coming from, and I just was very negative and but looking back, I'm like, oh, Erica, if you could have just, it was there.
It was there.
Mm-hmm. It was there. And people around you were trying to show you that it was there.
Mm-hmm.
But you were just, had your blinders on. You didn't want to see it.
Yeah. Yep. And I think we all do that. So that's why it's important that we get on, right? And we share our stories. Yep. So maybe when somebody else is in a dark moment, something will trigger where they'll say, oh, hey, gosh, I remember hearing Erica's story, or I remember hearing, Angela's story when she said at that moment, but yet hope was there. Maybe not, but you got to at least put it out there. And
you got to hope. I mean, how many people in the world? You got to imagine one person is going to feel that hope. So
that's it, man. One person. That's all that.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
I love it. Oh, I'm so glad you came on.
Oh, I'm so
glad
You're so
you
sweet.
had me.
Yes.
This
and
has been so much fun.
We always end it with a little fun would you rather game.
Yes.
So let's do this.
So let's do it.
Do you want to start?
I will start. Okay. Tacos or pizza?
It's gonna be easy, but then it wasn't.
I'm going to go with tacos.
Me too.
But it's got to be real street tacos.
Oh.
Real. With the small little tortillas with the cilantro and the...
They're good stuff.
So good. We're all like, yes.
Wait, I'm hungry. Okay. Mixed drink or wine?
I'm going to I'm going to say neither and go with a shot.
Oh,
I know. Out of the box. Lemon drops.
Sorry, my goodness.
Got me through my early 20s.
Lemon drops. Oh, my God.
I don't think I've ever had a lemon drop.
Oh, gosh. Because who wants to carry around a beer when you're at the bar
Well,
or drink? Such a pain, especially when you're trying to pick up guys.
Right?
I mean, come on.
I like the way you roll.
Yeah, let's just do the shots.
Especially when you're trying to dance, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It
You
is
can't
very-
dance with wine.
Oh my gosh,
No.
Royal Oak
No.
Metro Music Cafe. I'm totally dating myself. But
No.
if any of the listeners are out there, graduated in 1987, Metro Music Cafe.
I love it. I
Lemon
love
drops.
it.
That's hilarious.
Woo, good stuff.
Stranded in the jungle or stranded in the desert?
I'm gonna have to go desert. Who the
Really?
hell wants to be around bugs?
Yes, but in the
So
desert,
you said
what
that.
about
You said bugs.
the desert has scorpions
Yeah, but screw them.
and those big old spiders that are big.
It's
as
true,
a
but
plate.
the jungle has everything,
that is
It's
true.
so hot.
and it's humid. It's you're just totally gonna have bad hair in the jungle too.
Oh,
Where the
damn.
desert it'll be dry, but you might be able to get away with a good do still.
You might be able to at least look kind of good.
I mean, I'm just saying. Because I always say, man, when you have a good hair day,
You feel so good.
hell, if that ain't hope, I don't know.
Oh,
what
that is so
Because there's
flippin'
times
true.
when I have a good hair day where I'm like, I have to go out.
Yes.
People need to enjoy
Yes.
this. because
Yes.
This right here is hope all around
Yes.
my face. It's true. You know it's true.
It is so
It
true.
is
That
true.
is so true.
I'm like, where are you taking me today, Corey?
It's so true.
We got one.
Oh, we'll leave it.
Okay, Erica came up with this one. Rather have a song stuck in your head or an itch you can't scratch.
Oh, song stuck in your head.
Yeah.
Same. I said that too.
I said song stuck in my
She's
head
like,
too.
I do my head.
Oh, I just heard that on the way here.
I love that
her.
song. I love Lizzo.
I do too.
Oh my
Her.
God, she I love her.
Representing.
Yes, yes, she is my girl. I love it.
Yeah, who wants an itch you can't scratch?
I know.
Oh, thank
Hey.
you very much.
Not me.
No,
No.
thank you.
I'd be happy just with music all day.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather meet your favorite fictional character or your favorite musician?
Oh,
McGraw.
favorite musician.
Favorite musician.
I knew
Yeah.
right away when she said Tim McGraw
Thank you,
concert.
Brittany. I'm glad you're here. My baby daughter.
Yeah.
I should say thank you, Tim.
Yeah, right.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Tim
yeah,
McGraw.
for sure. Because you know why? Again, back to being a deep person. I don't, fictional to me, I'm like, you're not real. So,
Yeah.
like, I'd rather do real.
Yeah.
And if it's
too.
your music, like mine would be Lady Gaga.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
she's-
Love her.
She's a musical genius. She's Drew's favorite. She
love-
is a
She is a
musical
genius.
She's beautiful and she's true to herself.
true to herself. She's a good person. She's trying to change the world.
She
Yeah,
is.
totally
Agreed.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
would be mine. I think we know the answer.
I know
to
the
this
answer
one,
to
but
this
whatever.
one, but
Ask away.
TikTok or Instagram.
Oh, TikTok.
Ah, we knew it.
I mean, come
Our
on,
little
you guys.
TikTok star.
I mean, I
And-
don't know if anybody is not familiar with TikTok because there are people that aren't. TikTok is just, it's just the real deal. Like nobody
God, it cracks
gives
me
a
up.
shit if you're
No.
what you look like
No.
or if you're being a goofball. It's so opposite of what Instagram and Facebook is.
Yes.
I think.
It is.
Yes. Yes.
You know what? It's funny. Like some TikToks, you guys, I'm laughing out loud.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
And they're just like stupid. And you're just like, oh my God, I love that you just totally showed me how stupid you are. Like, I love it because that's what I would do. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. I have
See,
to share. Oh, sorry, Brooke. I have to share one I heard the other day.
Oh, geez.
Oh my, you guys, and it's so silly, but whatever. So it's this guy, and he's going. Okay, and he goes, he's grabbing a beer, and he goes, I tell myself, John, this weekend you got to stop drinking. And he goes, good thing my name's not John. And I couldn't stop laughing. I was crying and I kept watching it. And even my mom goes, okay, it's not that funny. And I'm like,
You're
but
like,
it is.
yes, it is. And then you watch it over and over. Oh, I'm saving that to my favorite. And then I got to share it to whoever.
See, this kills me because my husband is very like Facebook. He's on there all the time.
Facebook, yeah.
And we were in the car one day and it just drove me crazy because he's just, checking his notifications.
But
And
Corey's
I'm like,
pretty funny on Facebook.
listen,
Corey is
he
funny
is.
on
And
He's made me laugh
And,
so many
and I'm
times.
glad. And I said to him, I'm like, if you can be, you know, a bright light for other people. I'm so happy about that. But listen, when I need your attention, though, we're going to need to set it down for a sec because family comes first.
Yep.
And he was like, okay. Well, we were in the car one day and I think I had told him a long story. He legit didn't hear the whole at all. Nothing. He heard nothing. And I was a little frustrated. So I said, you know what? Because I was always on TikTok scrolling, you know.
Right.
I deleted it in front of him to prove a point. You know, I can get rid of it just like that because it's not that important. And so I kind of anticipated him going, okay, that's fine. Like, I can get rid of Facebook. Well, no, he still has Facebook.
Oh, God, no.
I don't have my TikTok. And you guys do this to me, and now I want it back.
Oh, my God.
I think you should just go back on.
Go back on
it.
it.
Did bring so much joy.
You can communicate to Corey that you're going back on.
Listen,
here's
Corey.
why.
I'm going on.
Corey should go on TikTok.
Oh my God! If Corey went on,
Corey
TikTok,
and
I'm serious.
We have because when I had it, him and I both had come up with a few that we were gonna do because they were so funny.
Yeah,
but
there's some really, not that I am, but there are some really talented people.
Oh,
that
yeah.
are just
Are.
naturally funny. And
Yeah.
I'm like I think Corey's stuff is funny.
Yeah.
I always
He
say
is.
Corey's very witty, and he always gets me laugh. Like,
You know
with
what?
his like sayings or words or whatever, he always gets me laughing out loud.
What gets me more or less is the fact that I'll see him over on the couch and he'll write this, okay,
Right.
and then he'll kind of like smirk at his phone, and then that's it. And then like throughout the day he'll reread it and just laugh at himself all day long. And I'm like, okay, like you can't. Well, I just got a kick out of myself, But he's funny, and I'm grateful for that. So.
Yep.
All right, so TikTok for you.
TikTok.
TikTok.
For me.
Okay.
I'm not surprised. Okay, our last one.
And I know the answer to this.
You think? Okay.
I think I know.
Demi Lovato or Selena Gomez?
Oh my gosh, Maren McConnell. When you listen to this, you already know the answer. Demi Lovato.
I knew it.
I love Demi Lovato.
She is legit my fave.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm in love with her voice. She takes her voice very
I love
seriously.
her.
And
Yes, she does.
because of everything I've learned through my daughter who sings, I love Demi.
I do too.
Yeah, I love her too.
I
do
love her, and
too.
I love her realness.
Me too.
Yes.
And Camp Rock.
Hello. I know.
My girls were like, that was the age. I watched Camp Rock 1,000 times. Come on, Mitchie.
Yep.
Yep.
We thought it would be. I know. I love Demi Lovato myself.
She's
too.
just, to me, she's nothing against Selena, because I do like her music too, but Demi's a real singer.
Seriously.
She is.
Kind of how like Lady
Seriously.
Gaga's a real
Yes.
singer. They're actually real singers.
Yes, and you know in their performances,
Yes.
they're singing.
Yes.
Like,
oh yeah.
And
There's
train,
without
they
a doubt.
continue to train
Yes.
with voice coaches.
Like when
and-
she came out with her last song, I think it was like on the award show.
Oh my God, that was
Anyone?
beautiful.
to that all the time.
When she like teared up, stopped, restarted, you knew that was like legit. Like she's,
And that's what
I girl
real.
crushed Demi.
I love her. And you know who my other fave is, as far as on the male scale? Sam Smith.
Sam Smith. My mom loves him too.
Love his music. Again, real singer.
Real.
Yeah.
And, of course, they just came out with their song together, and I was literally like, oh, my God, this is for
exactly.
me.
Yeah,
My faves.
like how did you know?
Yes, you do. Oh yeah.
I'm going to listen to her on the way home.
There-
Seriously.
Sure.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, and we're seriously so like over the moon appreciative
Yes.
Oh,
of you
gosh.
being
Thank you so
on
much.
here.
Well, thanks for having me, girls. I'm honored, truly honored to be on
It
here.
means the world. Listen, guys, you have to check it out. The Onion
Yes,
Peel.
The Onion
Angela, she's one of a
She's
kind.
amazing.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
thank you. Well,
Beautiful.
so are you girls.
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you.
And thanks for coming here and doing this.
Well, thank you. I just appreciate what you girls do. I love that you bring smiles to everybody's face, and
Aw.
that you just get on and you're just yourselves. And I know that sometimes that's not always easy to do, but man, I just love that you want to connect with people. It's so cool, guys.
Thank you.
Well, thanks.
It's cool to have a buddy in our
Yes.
little
podcast sisters.
yeah, the
That's what we
community
are.
is happening. So, all right, guys. Well, that's all we have for you on
Yes.
Uncorked Mamas. Enjoy the rest of your weekend?
Weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Until
Thanks,
next
guys.
time. Bye.
Bye.